Hello, everyone. The following was recorded at SHUX 2022 on the big stage. So this is when I would normally apologize for the poor audio quality, but actually I think the audio quality is pretty darn good. But just a heads up that if things sound a little odd, it's because we recorded it on stage. Once again, a big thank you to Shut Up and Sit Down and everybody at SHUX for inviting us, and enjoy the show.
They say the truth is the number one stopper. They say you think, but you never want to speak up. They say you're hiding there, you're busy, but what's on your mind, kid? What's on your mind, kid? They say out loud there will never be me, but they're the main ones that lie through the teeth.
Board Game Barrage was recorded in front of a live studio audience.
On this one.
Then Don't screw this up, Tom.
Okay. I screwed it up already.
Oh my God.
Hello and welcome to the Board Game Barrage. You screwed it up. Hello and welcome to the Board Game Barrage.
That's pretty good.
Hello and welcome to the Board Game Barrage podcast, a podcast about board games, the latest hotness, and how to have fun with your friends, even when you're losing. As always, I'm your host, Tom, and today, we're going to get weird.
All right, Tom.
Yes.
You're not the normal host.
I'm not the normal host.
Even though you're the host of
That's why we're getting
the
weird.
big event. But here we're getting weird. Thank you so much for joining us
Thank
on
you
the Board
very
Game Barrage
much.
podcast.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Listeners of the show who don't know him, but everyone in this room who does know him, you may remember him from going to the Sin Zone in our top 10 countdown last year.
Are we going to go to the Sin Zone today?
You may well, yeah.
Oh,
I think we're going to the Weird Zone.
It's adjacent to the Sin Zone.
It's like a hard left into
That's
the
right.
weird zone.
Exactly.
But first, of course, you have to choose a tank color that you would like to be on the Board Game Barrage podcast live.
Lime.
Is that
Lime.
Can we allow him to have lime?
Lime is available.
is that a color?
Yeah, lime's a color. It's like green.
It's a fruit.
You could just be the green tank, the newer, better, improved
Oh, yeah.
green tank.
Whoa.
Will you concede to that? Can I be green tank?
I will not
I
concede
want to be
that.
green tank just for one day.
All right, Lime Tank Tom.
Lime tank.
Lime Tank Tom it is. Great. Today on the show, thank you so much for joining us live. We're going to be talking about weird games. So that's weird mechanisms, weird themes, weird everything. And we chose this topic for you, Tom, because you are...
The Wizard of Weird.
The weirdest person we know.
I think that's kind of sad. If I'm the weird friend, that's a low bar. I think that I put out, like, in the Sin Zone, I think I've put out a sort of weird personality, but, like, I'm quite boring. When you asked to say, you said, hey, have you got some weird games? I could think of one. A single weird game.
Is that what's written on your paper? Just
Yeah,
one?
it's completely blank.
Here we are. But before we do that, we're going to talk about the games that we have been playing here at the con. Neelan is going to start us off with Dungeons, Dice, and Danger. Going to talk to us about a new party game because, of course, I am the king of partying.
Fun?
Fun facts. No, that's the game.
That's the next game.
Fun facts.
Fun facts from Kellen.
Tom, you're going to be telling us about Turncoats. Did you remember that you were going to be doing that?
Yeah.
That's good. And Mark, you're going to be talking to us about Flick Fleck. Is
The
that right?
underground hotness that no one's heard of.
And we are not allowed to curse. We asked before we started, so Flick Fleck, there will be no jokes related to the pronunciation of that name. Neelan, why don't you start us off with Dungeons, Dice, and Danger?
Happily. So Dungeons and Dice and Danger was a game I came to the con excited to play. I feel like there's been like this recent influx of these roll and writes that are themed around dungeon crawling. For whatever reason, I feel like there are three that just came all at once. This is a new one from Richard Garfield, who is the designer of Magic the Gathering and some other games you may be familiar with, like Bunny Kingdom, Robo Rally.
Bunny
I
Kingdom?
can't believe you went straight for Bunny Kingdom rather than, like, I don't know. Wait,
I did say Magic the Gathering.
you did say Magic the
Yeah,
Gathering.
that-
You only
that's
skipped
valid.
straight over Netrunner.
Oh, yes, there is that. There is that.
Mind Bug?
Mind
Yes.
Bug.
Yeah, what do you mean, Mind Bug?
Mind
Have you not heard of that?
No.
This is like one of his other new card games that's coming out. That it's like a micro game that's like a dueling card game. That looks cool too. But we're not talking about Mindbug. We're talking about Dungeons, Dice, and Danger, which is a roll and write. So it's a game where essentially what you're doing on your turn is rolling 5 dice. 4 of them are white. 1 of them is black. And if you're the primary player, what you're going to be doing is combining all of those dice into 2 pairs to just create 2 numbers. And those numbers are going to dictate where you can move on your map of this dungeon. So everyone gets this lovely illustrated dungeon map, and in these beautiful colors, like it's got this old school art theme. It's cool. And the numbers that you choose are going to dictate where you're going to mark off on your map. So you must start at one of the entrances, and after that, you can then move adjacent to that spot. You're moving towards these monster rooms to then use those dice values. So instead of moving, you might be saying, okay, I can hit this monster with an 8 or an 11. I rolled an 11. Huzzah, I mark off the next point of damage on that monster. Yeah, everyone claps. That's how our game went, Callan. And if you're the first person to deal all the points of damage to the monster, you're going to get a bigger reward. Every subsequent player that does it on their map is going to get a smaller reward. And in like typical roll and write fashion, that's the key point of interaction. You're just racing for objectives. There are things like the first person to connect one of the entrances to the other routes, for example. And racing for those objectives, racing to defeat the monsters, is primarily where you're competing with other players. The one twist to like the die rolling thing is that every other player, in a lot of roll and writes, this works pretty similarly. Other people are allowed to use your dice, but you have an advantage by virtue of this black die that you can also use. So everyone has like a lesser selection of options, but you have like the prime opportunity to do the best on your turn.
Right.
Where this kind of broke down for us a little bit in our game, Callan.
Us?
Yes, you were playing this with me. You may have stricken this from your memory, but you were there.
I was.
Where this kind of broke down is that it did kind of get to the end, because the way that the game wraps up is only when all of the monsters had been killed. And in our game, I want to caveat this a little bit by saying that we kind of got a rule slightly wrong in our game, which is we thought we had to kill every monster on our sheet.
Because that's what the rulebook said.
Because that's literally what the rulebook says. The English rulebook is apparently mistranslated. And
Doesn't everything start as English and then gets translated
Oh,
globally?
no. Sometimes it goes the other way around.
For
News
what,
to Callan.
what kind of thing?
For what purpose? I thought you were going to say.
This is the most American point of view I've ever heard.
So for non-American games, Callan, no. So anyway, this was mistranslated, and unfortunately what that meant is that we were playing out this game until one of us had defeated every monster, which kind of just became this like, roll, didn't get the numbers I need, you roll, didn't get the numbers you need, I'll roll, didn't get the numbers. And we just thought like this seemed really, really odd. The way it's actually meant to be played, which would make the game a lot less shorter, a lot less frustrating, is you just do it until every monster has been defeated by someone, which actually makes it much more of a race as to which monsters are going to get defeated and when you can like accelerate the end of the game. So it seemed fine. It seemed good. I
It
think
seemed worse than fine. It was terrible.
Okay, here's the thing. And I know this is going to sound like the most like damning with faint praise thing I can say, but like if you like roll and write games, this was a roll and write.
You're right. That is the most damning with faint thing I've ever heard.
I happen to like roll and write games, so I thought it was lovely.
No, you didn't.
I did.
I'm imagining-
It was charming.
Milan, the art was the best part of this game, okay, right? But you can get that on Google by typing in cool fantasy art.
You can hang it on your wall,
Yes.
and you can enjoy it just as much as you did the game.
It did have 4 different maps, which is kind of cool,
Yeah.
so there's a little bit of variety in what you're doing, but like you don't feel like you're exploring a dungeon.
You don't.
You don't feel like you're fighting monsters.
You don't. And I will say that even this, like the differences between the dungeons kind of felt a little bit superfluous, is a bit harsh, but they weren't as substantive as I would have liked. But the thing I kind of said, which I do agree with, is I would pick this up. I would play through each of the dungeons a couple of times, have a good time figuring out those routes through them, and be playing a lovely little game with my friends, Callan.
All right. Oh, who are your friends?
I'll find them.
Which friends? But Neelan, you're not going to buy this.
No. I am not. It's a sort of, but that's kind of what I mean by competent roll right, a fine roll right. I would not turn this down. I don't know that I would go out and seek it out.
These are really good box
Yep,
quotes.
exactly.
All
Pick
of
one
these.
of those, Richard Garfield, and put them right on the front cover.
If you like roll and writes, this is one. That's right.
Yes. One of those, Neil and Nyctophobia.
That's the next for Magic the Gathering expansion from the designer of Dungeon, Dice, and Danger. All right, let's talk about a good game. There's a new party game from Repos. Is that how you say it? Repo Productions? Who can say? The publisher of Just One. It's coming out next week. We got a chance to play it this morning. We invited everyone that we know up here that is fun, which is 1 and 2 and 3. And some of the members of So Very Wrong About Games. And in this game, you are literally counting, everyone is submitting numbers to a prompt, and then you're trying to figure out where everyone ranks without getting to see the numbers. So for instance, one of the questions we had today was, how good is your day going so far on a scale of 0 to 100? So if I start the round, I put my name out, Kellen, And then it is Mark's turn. He puts his name either above or below mine based on whether he thinks he is having a better or worse day than I am. On a scale of 1 to 100, everyone goes around, and then the first player can move their name anywhere they want. So each player can insert their number anywhere they want within that scale, and then it is a cooperative game, and you'll start revealing them and seeing how good of a day everyone has had. And I will say, my day was going quite poorly. And Neelan was having, it was heartwarming.
I was having an 80 out of 100 day, and I was very disheartened to see that no one else was with me.
It was like, I'm with my friends, it's such a good day. Like, it did touch my heart, honestly.
And then Kevin erased his number and added 20 to it. Aww.
What kind of day were you having?
I think it was like 15.
Oh my goodness.
That's just sort of the general day-to-day for me, right?
I feel personally responsible.
Yeah, you went home early last night.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, for instance, another question that we had was, how tall would you like to be? And so in whatever metric that you wanted to put, which obviously is feet, you use feet.
No, actually, we do. That's one of the weird holdovers that we have, is that we do use feet.
That's good.
I don't know how big a feet is, though.
All right, we're going to poll the audience. We're derailing here. Sorry, podcast listeners. This is about bacon now.
Oh no.
Okay.
This is about bacon now. I'm asking everyone.
Okay.
Is bacon a finger food, or is it something you eat with a fork and knife? Please raise your hand if you eat bacon with your hands. Oh, my God.
Oh,
That-
no,
We're at like 90%.
Disgusting. You should be ashamed of
We're at
yourself.
90%. These are smart, intelligent people who came to the podcast. Bacon is a finger food.
It's not a finger food. It's disgusting. That is animal behavior.
You both have literally never, you said, had
Never.
bacon.
Not
with
even
hand.
once.
Have you touched a bacon?
It's greasy.
That's the thing. It's going to be you got bacon fat all over your fingers.
It's
like,
a,
you can-
it's a
you can roll
Cheetos
up
thing.
Your
You just,
fingers
like-
at the end.
That's like a.
It's finger licking good.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. It's a little.
It's one of those things though, because I think that in the UK we have bacon that is like barely cooked. It's like
Right.
a ham product, you know. It's like
That sounds like you get sick.
yeah. Well, it's, you just cook it a little bit.
Yeah. You just want it
Just
to have like a
enough.
satisfying.
Rare bacon?
You kill off the bacteria and then you slurp it up like noodles.
That's gross. Another
It's culture, Kellen.
how tall do you want to be, Tom?
I want to.
How tall are you?
In feet? 5'10", 11, 9, somewhere. I don't know.
And if you could be, how tall would you be?
I'd be like.
Neelan wrote 7 foot.
I did
people.
not write 7. I did not write 7.
I think he doesn't understand the context that he couldn't even fit in cars.
Yeah, exactly.
What's like a good tall height? 6'3".
I'll tell you what I thought it was. 6'6".
That's too tall.
He wants
I've
to be very
discovered
tall.
that is too tall. For what it's worth, I've now discovered that is too tall. But at the time, it felt like a good tall height.
How tall do you think Quinn's is?
Ooh, that's a good question. Now I would answer probably 6'3".
I want to be 1 inch taller than that.
There you go. I like that. I can respect that.
That is a great answer. Another example of a question is name a year, if you had a time machine, that you would like to go to, either back or forward. So we had some people going to the future. We had some people going into the past to murder people that they didn't want alive. All sorts of things were happening. But it really was a great way to spark conversation among the table. I think it's really good. I think I'm going to pick it up for Christmas, 1,000,000%. But you do kind of need to sort of spark conversation after each round. Like, why is your day so Kellen? Oh, damn it.
It's a family show.
That's a bleep.
Got it.
But what did you guys think of Fun Facts?
I really liked it. Like you said, seems like a perfect game to get for like the holidays. There is the caveat where you do want to play with people you know probably just because you'll have a sense of where they are and because you want to be around people that are comfortable talking about that stuff in general. But yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was really
But
good.
also because like the game hinges on like what do I think Kellen would say
Yeah.
here? You know, so there is like some shared knowledge which helps
Yes.
makes this work.
Sure.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a common theme in like party games.
Sure,
you know,
yeah.
best with people who you're comfortable getting annoyed at for fun.
Yeah,
Exactly.
for sure.
It's definitely the wavelength thing, you know.
Right.
like- and I can imagine you play this game right, like at a board game group or something, and then someone gets really like pedantic about the fact that like it's not in the rules that we chat.
Right.
They're like, we got to move on.
It's just like on a scale of 1 to 100, how much do you like Disney movies? And it's like 7, 14, 21, and then 99. And you're like, who the hell are you? I had no idea you were that weird.
And who was the 99?
I'm not going to say out loud.
Somebody sitting at this table.
No, it wasn't.
What was it?
Walker from So Very
Oh,
Wrong
right.
Games.
That's right. We had a 90 at this table.
Cut that
though.
out.
Yeah, you can
Cut it
bleep
out.
that one.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, bleep all that out.
Got it.
And that is Fun Facts. I would encourage you to check it out. I'm excited to pick it up. Tom, tell us about a weird game.
Yeah, this is a weird game. So we played a couple of games of Turncoats, which is a sort of abstract strategy game that's on a lovely little cloth board. You have this sort of circular board that's divided into all these different regions, and in those regions you have stones. You start with 2 stones in every region. The way that the game is going to work is that you're sort of politically influencing, I guess, in the theming of the game, these 3 different warring nations that are fighting against each other, and whoever sort of backs the right side wins. We sort of compared it a lot to The King is Dead while we were playing. It's kind of one of those little things. And the way that the game works is you start the game with 8 stones in your hand. They're exactly the same stones as the ones that are on the table. And those 8 stones are going to sort of show your political allegiance at the end of the game. If you end the game with 3 red stones, and red wins the game, and everyone else has fewer red stones than you win the game. God, it is weird. It's really hard to explain. It's so abstract. And on your turn, the actions are incredibly simple. You can battle, which is just destroy some stuff in a region. You can move, which just moves your little things around. You can place a stone just directly onto the board. Or you can negotiate, which is draw a new stone from the bag and then put one back. The thing that is really interesting here, I think, in this game is that you have 8 stones, and none of those actions involve getting more. So every single time you take an action, you're playing one of your very limited supply of stones from your hand onto the table, so you're gradually shrinking your influence within the factions so you can change the game state on the board. And you're always thinking, you're always trying to work out exactly what side each person is playing, or whether they could easily pivot. Like, I tend to try and keep equal numbers of things so that I can zag at some point and radically shift out of a different faction to get another one to win.
You were also a coward the whole game.
I was also a coward the whole game.
Yes, you kept stalling. There's an action that allows you to just pick up another one and put it back in the bag, and you kept doing it.
Yeah,
At the end of the
fun.
game, we all had 1 chit left, and you had like 4. And then you just laughed at us, and you won.
It was great. I let the fools fight amongst themselves.
You passed over and over again, like
and I had
coward.
a great time doing it. I think Turncoats is super interesting. I think it's such a simple design. Like, as soon as you start playing, you're trying to work out how it works, what the optimal strategy is. You spend more time kind of like getting your head around the systems of the game almost than actually kind of coming up with a strategy and delivering on it. Or maybe I'm just stupid. Maybe you guys all had it down from the moment go. But yeah, I think it's really fun. I think it's a great little thing.
Yeah, for me, like, the thing is, like, you know, there are a few games that are kind of playing in the space. Like, you mentioned The King is Dead, like War of Whispers, like Pax Pamir, like this idea of like neutral factions that and you're all just vying for their allegiance more than anything else. This is the simplest one of those types of games that I've played. And it might be my favorite because of that. Like, it's just like, instead of being this overlong thing where, you know, by the end of it, which faction is winning feels more and more and more arbitrary. Like, it's just condensed down to like a sub 20-minute game that's a little bit weird, a little bit unlike anything you've ever played before.
Yeah.
And it does have the King is Dead problem of just being like a lot of different types of tiebreakers that end up deciding region control and end game control. But I liked it. I liked it a lot.
I think you have to really enjoy breaking ties
Yes.
to enjoy this game. That's what you spend most of the game doing, is calculating. You know, you'll have all these regions that have a perfectly equal number of pieces in them, and then you go and you look at your ledger to work out who's ruling in each individual section. But you're right that it's this radical reduction of these ideas into this incredibly simple package that becomes really, really complicated very, very quickly because it's so simple.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. It's lovely.
Yeah, I think the smartest thing, right, is that the winner is the one who has the most of that color left over at the end of the game that's winning on the area-controlled board. But in order to affect what's happening with that faction on the board, you have to spend those very same cubes. So, and it's not a cube, it's prettier than a cube.
It's a bead.
Is it a bead?
Yeah. What
Like
would you do? Or a stone,
An acrylic,
plastic,
transparent,
glass,
see-through,
thing.
colored.
Yeah.
I liked that. That was nice.
Put all those on the box. Not that it has a box, but yeah.
Well, that's the other thing, right? Like, the package is literally the board into like a little rucksack. Like,
Yeah, it's lovely. It has these eyelets around the edge, and then when you're done, you just cinch the game shut and you sort of carry it away with you. It's very folk gamey. I really like it.
I absolutely loved it. I mean, I think King is Dead is like a really strong analogy because it has very strong King is Dead vibes. But I just loved the brain-burning tactility of it. Like, every single move feels influential, and you really have to keep an eye on what your opponents are doing, what factions they could be backing. Just felt like a game where every choice was important and just crammed in a really small time frame, a small physical package. As they've said, like the production is fantastic. This like rucksack looking thing is very novel and very nice. But even without that, I would really be interested in the game just because of like how concentrated it felt.
Okay. I'm sorry. Here's the thing. I love supporting indie weird things. So I will say support indie weird. Please buy this. It's very good. But like it looks like a 5-year-old's construction project.
No,
Yes, it does.
Funky. It's a beautiful thing.
No, it's not.
It's simple and it's elegant and it looks great on the table.
It's a rucksack. The board is a sack that you open.
I think what Kellen it is literally just a white cloth with some black embroidery on it. Like it's very, very simple. But
You guys are talking about it like it's a
clean.
tapestry.
I think it looks great.
It almost literally is like a tapestry.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what
Yeah,
a
but
tapestry.
that
what
like
it's
a
going for.
6-year-old made.
It's like you can imagine.
I'd like to see you try to make it.
I could make it better than that.
You could not.
So we will, after this recording, we will post to Twitter Kellen's attempt at recreating the Turncoats
Yeah.
board from scratch.
I accept your challenge. All right, Mark, what
All
do
right.
you got for us?
All right, we're here to get weird. Let us get weird.
Oh, my God.
Okay, I played the latest hotness, the underground hotness. No one's heard of this, but this is the game of the con for me. This is Flick Fleck. For the podcast listeners at home, you can't see this lovely box, lovely art here. Flick Fleck, as the title clearly indicates, is a game about cows that have woken up with all their spots missing.
Yeah.
Okay? So this is sort of like a tried and true theme.
Right.
So forgive that part of it. The way it works is you start with these cows that are all blank. They're cows, they've woken up, all their spots are gone. And then there is a pile of tiles in the center face down, and you need to give the cows their spots back. Again, a tried and true theme. So, and the way you do it, you don't just take these tiles and put it on. That's crazy. The way you do it is,
Should we do it together?
well, we are going to do it together, but we're going to do it together in a special way because this is a game that appeals to everyone. There are 4 languages, all right? And the way it works is everybody puts their hand on a tile in the communal pile of tiles, and then you all have to say the same phrase. If you're playing this in England or the United States, the phrase is, how, cow, wow, now. So let's recreate that. This is what happened last night. We all had our hands on tiles, put your hands on tile, and then we all said, how, cow, wow, now. And then you pick up a tile, and if you can, you're matching black to black and white to white on the cow, and you place it. And you keep doing that.
You have to keep saying it.
Yeah, every
Literally
time.
Every turn you have
Every
to
time.
say it.
Yeah.
And
They
everyone's
insisted.
watching you. No, the rules insist.
Yeah, the
I'm
rules.
sorry, we
yeah.
played the game by the originally intended rules.
Right.
Yep.
We always follow the rules verbatim. But if you were in Germany, what you would say is,
Don't do this to me live. I don't... Ein, mein, ma?
right, exactly. Okay. Italian.
Oh, that wasn't bad.
Italian. Baraba cicimaccio.
Perfect. And then finally,
In French, tash stram glam.
right. Perfect.
good.
French is such a beautiful language. And so you do this, you try to construct the cow. You get this lovely pattern towards the end. And then occasionally you'll draw a tile that doesn't fit. And then this was our sort of house rules that you had to throw the tile violently back in the box.
I think we improved it.
Yeah, that was definitely an
That was my
upgrade.
favorite part of the whole game.
That's true. Well, it was a high bar to cross, and yet it did cross. But yeah, Flick Fleck is a game that I can wholeheartedly endorse.
And it weirdly is like for 18 years and older.
Yeah,
It's
right.
bizarre.
Yeah. In fact, to check this out of the library, I had to show ID.
your ID,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
But yeah, it's Flick Fleck. What did you guys think of Flick Fleck?
Loved it.
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
Such a
I don't understand.
killjoy.
I do kind of love it.
That's the
though.
thing. Kellen is trying to convince us that we had a bad time, but we had the most rollicking experience of the whole con playing this.
It's like we got done with one game without Tom, and then you said, we'll just leave this setup till he gets here.
Yeah, exactly. Run it back.
And we started playing another game, but we left this out?
Yeah, absolutely. We had to be ready for when he got there to immediately dive back into Flick Fleck.
It was. And I came in hot. It was
Yeah.
like I turned up, and then already we were how, cow, wow, now.
Yeah.
We were throwing tiles back into the box.
It's wonderful.
I really enjoyed the closing moments of this game where all of us had 1 or 2 spaces left on our cow, and every single round, none of us could put the final tile.
Right.
And it was like, how, cow, wow, now? No. How, cow, wow, now? No. How, cow, wow, now? No. And then we ran out of tiles.
I think my favorite part was Tom was on the verge of winning. He had 1 space left, and he needed just a all-white tile. And so we all, how cow now, wow. And we reveal him, and he doesn't have it, but I have his all white tile. So I made sure to wave it in his face as I threw it into the box.
And that would have been fine once, but it happened like 4
That's
times.
true. That's true. Yes. Quadrupled my pleasure.
I think the best thing about this game, and we've submitted a correction to BGG, is that it actually has asymmetric factions because each cow has different spots that outline it. So the tiles that you need actually make the cows asymmetric. So we want to make sure that's properly reflected on Board Game Geek.
And that was your argument as to why, you were the only one to have 2 remaining spots on your cow rather than 1, right? Kellen.
No, I wasn't trying that hard.
So that is Flick Fleck.
Greatest game of all time.
That's right.
Game of the Con, and we've probably checked it out more than it's ever been checked out in the history of SHUX. So you can check that out tomorrow, Mark, unless you steal it.
Wait,
I may have to.
We can't leave the segment without your incredible pun, Tom.
Oh, yeah. So, because it's a game about getting all the little patches to kind of match together and everything to kind of look nice, little tile laying game, I call it Caucason.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Thank you. You're welcome.
You're finished.
People like puns? Still? Okay, in the middle of the episode, we usually do the news. We do random things. The winner of the draft. We do a board game draft. Every couple episodes, people win gift cards. Neelan, who's won the draft?
Yeah, so drum roll, the winner of the last draft with their selection of Lord of the Rings, The Confrontation, The Estates, A Long Shot, The Dice Game, Merv, The Heart of the Silk Road, and QE was Callan.
That is incorrect.
What?
Wait, what?
I think Mark won.
I won it.
Do I have my black and white chart?
Yeah.
Clearly? Okay, sure. Mark won the draft.
That's right.
Instead.
Wait,
That's
I
right.
don't...
Look,
okay.
this chart is in black and white. It is
Black and white
illegible.
and white?
Yeah.
Black, white, and gray.
Callum, do you want to win?
I would love to win. How much money do I need to give you?
That grey. This is completely illegible. Why did
see?
you do this
I don't
to yourself?
know. It made more sense to me. I thought I knew what it said. But anyway, we also have someone that is the winner of the contest that we do that voted on the draft. Tom, would you like to pick an email address out of the bag for us, please?
Tom.Brewster.
What?
ShutUpAndSitDown.com.
Tom, did you put that
Did
in
I
there?
put that in my bag? Shall I get
Yeah.
another one?
Yeah,
Take another one
please,
out of the bag.
please.
Okay, yeah, sorry. Tom.Brewster at ShutUpAndSitDown.com.
What?
Oh, it's all the way down.
The actual winner is your email address starts with an A and ends with the number 8. Please reach out to us and we will get your prize to you. Thank you very, very much.
What's the prize?
A gift card.
$50.
We do this every month or so. So, yeah, if you like the idea of us drafting board games live, which is something we were privileged enough to do with you
Yeah.
at the last or SHUX, I
Oh,
believe.
yeah. And who won that again?
Who won that again?
I'm giving you a high five
right.
across the panel.
Let me
Yes.
consult the chart.
Over Kellen's
Kellen.
head as well.
Kellen and Ava won. That's what the black and gray
There has
said.
been a resurgence in Kellen and Ava support, right? There's people that have come
Yes.
up to you and been like, you should have won.
We should have won
But
that.
hey, we had the people's vote, and that's what matters.
That's right.
All right, let us talk about weird games. Who wants to get weird?
I want to get weird.
Yeah, let's get weird.
Part where we chant weird.
I've got
Remember when
one-
I
wait,
told
wait,
you
we-
behind?
we-
said,
we chant
weird,
Weird.
weird
Weird.
games.
Stare
games,
everyone in the eyes.
weird games,
Weird.
games,
Weird.
That was
That was
weird.
weird.
That was weird.
Let's never do that again.
And actually, I thought it sounded better than I was anticipating.
There was
it
a little
less
bit like,
weird.
a little
Yeah.
bit of syncopation going on
Yeah,
there.
it's
You know,
good.
it was fantastic.
Does anyone want to start with a weird game that they'd like to highlight or why they like weird games?
Sure. I mean, one reason I like weird games is obviously they are unique. They often offer something that you don't see in games, be they a mechanism or a theme or whatever. So I'm going to highlight a game that I think I've talked about on the show before, but when I think of weird games, the first one that pops to mind, because of the weird mechanism, but also because it's a solid game, because that's one issue sometimes with weird games. They sometimes aren't the best games, but a good weird game is Mord Arosa. I don't know if anyone here is familiar with it.
I think it's in the library. So
Is
if
it?
you want to play it after this, you can. I
Yeah.
thought, yeah.
So
I've heard
what-
it's weird.
It is weird. It is weird. So one cool thing right off the bat is that you start by building this structure. And it's basically like a tower that you're building with a hole that goes straight through. So you construct a tower and there's a hole that goes straight through, but the holes are a little bit off center. So if you drop the cube, which you're going to be doing in this game, it won't necessarily drop all the way down to the bottom, I'm saying. It'll land often, usually, on one of the floors. There are 7 floors that constitute the tower. And you start by dropping 2 red cubes into the tower, and they represent the victims of the murder. And you're all playing as detectives. And so
Whoa.
the mechanism of Mord Arosa is listening. It's a listening game. So
So when Tom said he heard it was weird.
that was a yes.
That's even worse than Carcassonne. Come on.
That's not a pun. I was making you sound
No, I'm just
smart.
talking about it on the basis of,
That was
you know,
you being-
jokes.
But you knew it was about hearing.
It was a little... No, I didn't. I've never heard of this game before.
There you go. We're going to have a doubleheader of Flick Fleck and Mortem Arosa. But anyhow, so you drop these 2 red cubes. They are where the murder victims are. And then you all take turns dropping your player colors into this tower. And then after you've seeded the tower with a couple of cubes of everybody's color, then you play a game where you're paying attention the whole time of where the cubes have landed. And then you can try to accuse other people of potentially being the murderer by saying, I think one of Kellen's cubes is... And you're trying to identify which part of the tower. So I think Kellen is on the 4th floor. And you reveal it, and if you're right, then Kellen is put into this like accusatory pile of like clues against them. And if you get it wrong, you have to add more of your own cubes into it. And now you've seeded the tower with more suspicion on yourself. And it's just a really fun, really unique game that I think is a rock-solid game and has been fun and interesting every time I've brought it to the table.
Is that the only game with hearing as a mechanism?
I mean, I'm struggling to think of any others.
It's like I'm thinking about social deduction games where people are like, oh, I heard him like look up or like
right.
move
Right.
around, but that's not fun.
I played
fun.
I played a bunch of social deduction games at a game group where they would like tap their hands on the table.
Yeah.
Have everyone drum it.
To
yeah,
mask,
yeah.
I could not stand that. It drove me mad.
There is that thing that like the One Night All But Werewolf app does, where it has like wolves baying while everyone's doing this, so you can't hear anything. Speaking of Mortem Arosa, like I was trying to think of like other games that use senses in different weird ways. This is not a good game, so don't take this as any endorsement. But Nyctophobia was pretty weird in that regard by being a game that was like driven entirely by touch. I think most of the people are blindfolded, and everyone else is just using like their fingers to feel their way around the board in a way that was really, really bizarre, but not good.
That kind of reminds me of, have you played The Good Doctor's Tajuto?
No.
It's a really, really odd game.
Yeah, Neil, and you have played this.
You have?
Yeah, where you have to reach into the bag and and depending on which size tower you want to grab
Oh,
out.
yes, I have played this.
Yeah,
we
you're
were
building up
calling it like the
pagodas.
anti-COVID game.
That's right,
Because
yeah.
it was like right as COVID was happening and you're like going in the bag and like trying to feel for things.
I think it's kind of good. That's a game that I thought would be much weirder than it actually ended up being. I was thinking like, oh, it's really weird. You're putting your hand in the bag. You're feeling these components in what otherwise is kind of a straightforward Euro game. But the bag is actually kind of clever because you know that the chance that you're going to pull the color of pagoda that you need, because you're building out these different pagodas and you want a certain one at a certain time, those chances change when you can see certain sizes on the board, so it becomes easier to feel for the right size because there's fewer of those in the bag.
Right.
That makes sense. It is a weird game, but it resolves down into something that's actually kind of like much more mechanically straightforward than I
Right.
thought.
That was the thing I remember, is that the game itself was clean in the way that a lot of Knizia's games are. But yeah, that one little weird element kind of made it super interesting.
Yeah.
So I have this like theory, right, about weird games. And it's the perfect time to not proceed with our normal programming. It's not that funny, but it's like, so I remember when Hanabi came out and everyone was like, oh, like what? This is weird. Like, you can't see your cards. And it was so good that it's been copied like over and over again now. So there's a lot of games like Pikoko, Durian, Letter Jam are just the ones I could think of off the top of my mind, where instead of holding your cards and looking at them, other players are looking at your cards. And now I don't find that mechanism weird.
Right.
Yeah.
So if something is weird and good, it gets copied. And then it's no longer weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just explained like counterculture as a concept. It becomes the culture. Not seeing cards, it's the culture now.
It's just normal now.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing it.
So weird and good is hard to find.
Yeah.
Sure. Wait, just generally?
Well, because weird and good has a window, is I think the point, right? Where it is weird, and then it's after a while, it's no longer weird because it's been imitated, right?
Dominion.
Yeah, there we go. Dominion was weird at some point.
Dominion was super weird when it came out.
Oh, you guys are so old. It's crazy.
You've never been on TikTok.
But no, I know what you mean, where like these things sort of get folded into like, that's a thing that's like kind of like coming to the industry at this point. That's like really strange, seeing like games that are kind of like repeating the same ideas. They've taken these like ideas that were like radically weird and odd, and they've kind of folded them into like the accepted canon of what you can do with mechanics. And I think that one of the most radical things that a game can do at the moment is almost like not have its like strange new mechanic, but just subtract things. That's almost what Turncoats feels like. It feels weird because it's like so elegant and so simple, because it's trying to get rid of all of that fluff that designers are trying to build up and up and up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
What did we just play today, Dylan? Kind of feels like a reduction as well. The Field of Gold and Cloth.
Oh yeah, that's a game I absolutely am going to be talking about because the Field of the Cloth of Gold is a 2-player game by Hollandspiel. The way that Amabel Holland describes it is she designed it in like a very small amount of time, and it kind of has that feel. Like it's a very small number of components. It's strictly 2-player. It's just I guess like a parchment board and like tiles, and that's the whole game. But it was described to us as like a knife fight in the phone booth style of every decision is really, really hard and punishing because on every turn you're giving a gift to the other player. And these gifts are the tiles that they're going to be scoring points from. So it's always a choice between 2 or 3 actions, and in every single one of those actions you're helping your opponent.
Right.
So it's just kind of this weird, tight little game that just feels really lovely. But I actually think the thing that makes it weird, and I was trying to find like a good example of this. Like I think that we have this sense in other mediums like film of like weird films in the way that they're visually weird or that kind of the stories are weird, and board games don't really have that so much, but this comes pretty close because like the rule book is kind of written in this very old English style way. I feel like all of Hollandspiel's stuff is kind of odd because these boxes are just like flat and thin, like they're these odd shaped boxes. They're all like print on demand, so they just have this very like homebrew feel to them, and they all just feel very odd, like they're not designed the way other games are. This doesn't quite feel like anything you've played before, and that's kind of what I love about it. It's just slightly weird.
It looks like photo paper case.
Right.
From like
Pretty much is
Staples.
that, yeah.
That's strange. I think there are weird board game like themes, right?
Yeah,
or
for
settings.
sure. For sure.
Like movies. You know, we were talking about like Jim Felly, all of his stuff is like ultra
That's a good example.
weird. Like Cosmic Frog, which is like about giant frogs that are eating shards of the universe.
Yeah.
They've all got insatiable stars in their bellies, and they have to eat like rock and vomit it into a vault. It's an odd. But the thing is, though, right? I think those games are weird, to use the verbiage of the
Is
show.
that the psychedelic weird?
Yeah, for
Am,
sure.
am I touching something?
You've licked the frog.
Is that your leg?
But they are weird games thematically, but then also like fundamentally, I don't feel weird playing them.
That's exactly it. Like it's kind of like mechanically they don't feel completely abnormal, but yeah,
For sure. They just like, I mean, Cosmic Frog just feels like Super Smash Bros.
Sure.
As soon as you get over all of the like, the language that's used to describe the game, it's like quite straightforward, which works to the game's favor.
Oh, totally.
I think one of the hardest things you can do is like make a weird game that's like so weird it's inapproachable.
Exactly.
That's one of the things I have with Turing Machine. Like that Turing Machine is this absolutely Byzantine puzzle. It's so hard to talk about properly, and that makes it like really, really odd and also like quite impenetrable.
Totally. But also like there's an appeal there, right? Because like the thing that is striking about Turing Machine is you have it out on the table and everyone looks at it and is like, what is that? It doesn't look like anything I played before. And like that's something I find appealing, at least.
I love a game that when it's laid out on the table, everyone's immediate thought is to like try and understand how it works, like from the components.
Right.
And they're trying to work it back. And a truly odd game, is my new thesis, is like impossible to do that for. You look at this board and you go like, okay, I don't know what's happening here, and I can never like I can't understand it in like any context because you're trying to like relate it to like, I don't know, existing board game stuff.
Yeah, if you can relate it to a bunch of stuff that you already know, then how could it be weird?
Yeah, exactly. Which is kind of like your thing. You're saying that these strange mechanics are being folded into the norm. So if you can identify a game with those sets of mechanics, is it weird? No, unless it's Cosmic Frog because it's got a nuts theme.
All right, so we started with Kellen's principle. Now we're going to go to Kellen's father's principle. Ooh, and he listens, which is adorable. He calls me and says, "What does this word mean?" Like, I've never heard of deck building. He does it. He hates board games. And he talks to me like every other day, but he still listens to the show.
That's
like,
some commitment.
Is Neelan doing okay?
Neelan's an 80. Yeah, Neelan's an 80. You
Yeah,
can tell by
exactly.
that.
Neelan had an 80 day, and I was at 15. Yeah. But my dad's principle that I think is relevant here as it relates to weird things is he does not trust movie critics at all. He says that they have seen thousands of movies, and so they go to a new action movie or a new romantic comedy movie, and they just say that they hate it. They on it. They say, this is boring. I've seen it 50 times before. He says they only like weird things. And I find that that is largely true for board games, too, because the people who are reviewing the games, the people who are so into the hobby, have just played the same thing so many times, and suddenly they lose touch with what the common people like.
Like accusing.
I'm accusing you, not me. I'm the man of the people.
I agree with the fact that, like, that's
Are you
definitely...
disagreeing with my father?
No. I kind of
okay.
agree. I kind of agree.
Okay.
But I also think that, like, I think people don't know what they want, and what they really want is to see something new. I think everyone's kind of a movie critic at heart, where actually deep down they do want to see something that's, like, challenging and weird and odd. You know, I don't think you do want the same thing all the time.
Are you saying, Tom, that people hate Marvel movies? Because if I could get you to just say that out loud, I would love to take that and quote it everywhere.
I can say that I hate Marvel movies.
You say that, but actually everyone hates them. They everyone, just don't know it.
Exactly. They just don't know it yet. One day there'll be a day they'll realize.
And that's shut up and sit down talking. Not make sure when you quote that.
I do think there is something to this idea that like critics have like a weirdness bias, right? Like, I mean, I think that there is some truth there. I know it's true of me because like I think I've said this before on the show, where it's like sometimes I'm more interested in a game that is interesting more than it's good, if that makes sense. Not that that would necessarily be like an unfiltered recommendation, but it's like, okay, you might want to check this out. This is going to make you experience something that like is pretty vastly different from something you've played before.
Exactly. I think like people, no one has like had a sort of like real resonance with something they've entirely seen before.
Exactly.
I think that weird stuff, things that are out of your comfort zone, things you aren't familiar with, are what produces that like, oh yeah. And that's way more true of movies than I think it is of board games, to be fair.
Is that why your videos are so weird?
Weird. Yeah, I'm really trying to get the viewer to have an emotional resonance with Scout.
The weird game that I wanted to highlight is called Chaosmos. And if you've not played it, you should play it. I promise you, it is weird. The game is essentially reverse hot potato.
Ooh.
Have you played Chaosmos?
I've heard about it. You're trying to find the ovoid,
That's right. The universe is ending, and you're looking for one card amongst all these planets. But there are a ton of envelopes in the game, so the ovoid can start the game on any one of these planets, anywhere in the galaxy, and you're sort of zipping around, and you could find it on the first turn of a 20-turn game, and then go, oh, I can't now pretend like I know it's here. You start setting up traps.
Right.
And so literally, like, you put a turret in the front of that envelope, and so the next person that goes to that planet, they open it and they get turreted. But then you could be bluffing them, right? You could set up a turret even though the ovoid isn't there. But another thing you could do is take the ovoid with you, because all you need to do to win the game is have it when the turn track runs out. So it creates these weird situations where you don't know, people are hiding keys to unlock other doors behind turrets, you know, like plans within plans, and then someone's saying, Kellen knows where it is, and you're sort of looking at each other and double bluffing. It is excellent and very weird, and it has sort of flavors of Cosmic Encounter in it. So if you like Cosmic Encounter or sort of the stylings of that, Chaosmos is an indie design that I think everyone should play. It is weird. It has not been repeated. I think it should be repeated, frankly, which is the sort of exploratory nature of finding an envelope, opening it, and sort of stealing the weapons that you want, hoping the hot potato is there, but also not knowing what to do if you find the hot potato too early in the game. So people are teching up, people are building bunkers.
It sounds really cool.
Yeah, let's go play. Yeah, why are you on another panel after this?
We can bunk it off. It's fine. Let's get out of here and play Chaosmos.
Let's call it.
Okay.
Are we calling it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, that wasn't a joke? Anything else?
Yeah,
Anything else that's weird?
I have one like quick mention, which was actually something
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of mentioning until you called it out, Kellen, earlier, which was that there is something I also like about, hey, here's this mechanic that you're intimately familiar with in a lot of games, but this game does it slightly weirdly. I don't know that this is necessarily the only example of this, but XCOM, the board game, does real time in a slightly different way, which is to say that it is these short bursts of real time. So it's like you have 10 seconds to make a decision, make it quickly. Now you have 20 seconds to make another decision, get it figured out. And you're just doing these very quick, short bursts of real time over the period of about 5 minutes, and that's your planning, and then you kind of see how all that planning played out, or would you like execute through all of it. And it kind of just felt like these short bursts of stress that are like very like repeated in a way that's like very, very emotional. Like it hits you like really quickly, but it doesn't feel like that long tail of real time that a lot of games have, where it's like 3 minutes and you got to do this and then this and then this and this. It doesn't feel as frantic. It just feels like staccato in exactly the way that you'd want it to like hit over and over again.
That's kind of something that's also in... Have you played there's a Tim Fowers game, Now Boarding?
No.
It has like this. It's so strange because like when the first time I got it out, I thought like I didn't understand why it was real time. Like in now boarding, you're running an airline,
Okay.
trying to get passengers from point A to point B. You have unlimited time to plan, and almost all the information is public at the start of a round. But then the actual motions of the round are in real time. But you just reveal just enough new information in that real time phase that it feels really stressful.
Okay.
It's kind of delightful, and yeah, I think that like short burst of real time stuff does create an entirely different sensation to the like Kitchen Rush or Rush MD,
Right,
or
exactly.
those sorts of games where you're over a long period of time you're doing this real time stuff, and kind of leads more towards complete chaos. I find.
Right. Because it's just like off kilter enough from what you're familiar with. It just, again, it feels unusual. It feels fresh.
The last thing I just wanted to mention was my main man, Classic Carl. Chadia,
Oh.
has a game called Flowerfall.
Oh yeah.
Have you played this?
I've heard about it. Ava's talked about it before.
Yeah, and the reason it's not been repeated is because it's a bad idea. But it is weird. You literally are dropping cards off of a predetermined height and then trying to build gardens of flower patterns. So you have a card with white flowers, and you decide like at the beginning of the game how hard you want the game to be. So it's like, do you want to do off the stairs or off a building or, like 1 foot off the ground? And literally the end of the game is just how many blue flowers you have by other blue flowers. And so it's very funny and silly, but it's not good. But it is weird, but it hasn't been repeated. The Kellen principle. Counterculture at work.
Yeah.
Any last words, Mark?
I mean, I'm going to bring up a game I think we all know, which is Who Soiled the Toilet?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's sort of
That's
boring,
not
but
that
and it's
weird.
not so much. Yeah, it's not really weird mechanically, but thematically, I guess it's a little odd. Where
suppose.
this is a social deduction game, so Nealon's favorite type of game.
Yeah.
Where this is a real game. Who soiled the toilet? Where half the people at the table are soilers, and then half of them they're called
toilet?
clean keepers, and then you have to deduce who the soilers are.
Yeah.
It's usually Nealon.
You know this is live, right? And we can't cut this
It's
out.
a real game. I'm not making.
I
it up.
believe it's a real
Yeah.
game. This is what you want to end the episode with?
Yeah, absolutely. We're
Who
getting weird.
soiled the toilet?
Yes. Is that weird or not? Is this a weird episode?
It is. Can we just chant
You're bringing up
weird
talking about
and cut this
Flowerfall where
part
you
out?
drop cards.
Flowerfall
Like, what
is
is
a
so
game.
boring?
I'm so not convinced that Who Soiled the Toilet is a real game.
Look it up.
But I want to believe.
Pull out your BGG right now.
He doesn't have
BGG is a euphemism.
on his phone.
Wait, there's like a BGG app?
Yeah.
You guys are nerds. BGG, Who Soiled the Toilet?
Can't wait to see the look on your face.
Oh my god. Oh, you know what? This has your favorite thing as well. Which
Yeah.
Has, you know how we did the different things for Flick Fleck in all the different languages? I think we also have other. Oh no, it's gone. It was telling me the other names such as Torei o Yogoshita Nawa Darada.
Yeah,
Who Soiled the Toilet?
exactly. It's a
All right,
Japanese
all right,
game.
all
You
right.
should
No,
love
no,
it.
No. All right, and that's going to do it for this episode of the Board Game Barrage podcast. Thank you guys so much for coming in person.
Does it have a real toilet? Wow.
Tom, can we just chant
use
weird,
your own?
please, and end this? Weird.
Weird.
Which one of you guys soiled the toilet?
Thank you to Heart
Told you it's
Society for the
kneeling.
song "What's on Your Mind, Kid." Oh, you didn't hear the song.
I can't believe what
That's
I'm seeing
weird.
here.
Turn it off, Mark. Stop, and
It's
you'll cut
literally a
here
tiny
before
toilet
this.
that
You'll cut
you get
before
as
this
a-
part.
I will
Mark.
cut before you.
Please
yeah.
don't. But we're still on stage. All right. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.